All right, let's talk about Greeley, Colorado. There's a vote coming up that is a huge deal. We're talking about $1 billion development, and it could completely change the city's future. So we're going to break down what's really at stake here.
So what's all the fuss about? Well, it all boils down to one thing on the ballot, Proposition 1A. But trust me, this is way more than just a simple vote. It's really a question about growth, about risk, and about what kind of city Greeley wants to be.
Okay, so when you get down to it, the choice is actually pretty simple. The best way to think about it is like a traffic light. Voting yes on Prop 1A, that's the red light. It hits the brakes, repeals the zoning, and stops these projects in their tracks. A no vote, that's the green light. It means full speed ahead, letting everything move forward just as planned.
So what's actually being challenged here? It's a specific decision the City Council made, called Ordinance 30. This was the key that unlocked the whole thing. It rezoned this massive 834-acre piece of land to make way for two huge, linked projects, the Catalyst Entertainment District and the Cascadia development.
All right, let's dig into the arguments. First step, why would you vote no and let this thing go forward? Well, the people who support it are painting a picture of some pretty major economic growth and opportunity for Greeley.
The first thing you hear from supporters is this huge number, $2.9 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. And that's the economic impact they're projecting in just the first 10 years. We're not just talking about what happens inside the new venues either. This is about the ripple effect. You know, people spending money at restaurants, staying in hotels, and shopping at local businesses all over the area.
So what does all that money mean for the people who actually live in Greeley? Well, the big promise is jobs. Lots of them. Proponents are talking about almost 1,400 new, permanent, year-round jobs. And they're quick to point out these aren't just temporary construction jobs that disappear when the building is done. These are supposed to be lasting jobs in hotels, shops, and running the venues themselves.
Okay, so how are they going to make all this happen? The plan is simple. Keep the place packed. They're aiming for more than 200 events every single year. Just imagine it. Professional hockey, huge concerts, big conventions, family shows, basically a non-stop calendar of events to bring people and their money into Greeley.
Now, to really get the no side of the story, it's worth hearing from the people who are championing it. One of the biggest voices out there is the former mayor of Greeley, John Gates. He was right in the thick of it, helping to negotiate this whole deal.
Gates really boils his argument down to two main things. First, he says the way the deal is structured, taxpayers are protected. And second, he's framing this as a massive, once-in-a-generation opportunity, the kind of thing that doesn't come around often and could totally change the economic future of the city.
And it's not just about the big, flashy numbers. The No campaign is pointing to some other really practical benefits. For one, the city would actually own the venue, which they say gives the community control. They've also got a 40-year lease locked in with the Colorado Eagles hockey team. That's a huge deal for stability. Oh, and get this, the developers would foot the bill for $56 million in road improvements. That's a pretty big carrot.
Okay, so that's the big vision for growth. But what about the folks on the other side of the fence? The people pushing for a yes vote say they aren't against growth. Instead, they're saying, whoa, let's slow down here. They're raising a huge red flag and asking a really important question. What's the real cost of all this?
Right off the bat, opponents point to the price tag. The official number is $832 million, which is already a ton of money. But they're arguing that's just the sticker price. Once you add in interest payments on the loans and all the other fees, they're saying the city could be on the hook for way more, maybe even over $1 billion. So you gotta ask, how does a city even get a loan that big? And this is a point that opponents are really hammering home. The plan is to use 46 public buildings as collateral. We're not talking about some old storage sheds here. We are talking about mortgaging City Hall, the police department, really essential city buildings. And this quote from a Greeley resident, Nicole Reiner, really sums up the whole yes argument. She says the risk is just too big, especially because there aren't any rock-solid, legally binding guarantees that the community itself will see direct benefits from all of this. Another massive point for the yes side is something called opportunity cost. Basically, what else could the city be doing with its time and money? They're pointing to other big projects that are now on hold, like a $250 million renovation for the rec center and plans for a new city hall. Their argument is that everyone's so focused on this one shiny new thing that other critical needs across the city are just being left behind.
And it's not all about the money either. The Yes campaign is also talking about a lack of transparency in the whole process. They're asking tough questions like, what kind of jobs are these really going to be?
And they're pointing out that there's no official, legally binding community benefit agreement. A contract that would guarantee things like hiring local people or paying a certain wage.
So there you have it, the big argument for growth versus the urgent call for caution. But what actually happens on the day after the election? Let's take a look at the two completely different paths Greeley could go down.
Depending on how this vote goes, we're looking at two totally different futures. If Prop 1A passes, that's a yes vote, everything grinds to a halt. The projects are stopped cold. That huge 40-year deal with the Eagles hockey team, they could be in serious trouble. On the flip side, if the proposition fails, a no vote, it's go time. Construction can start, but at that exact moment, the city also officially shoulders all of that massive financial risk.
When you peel it all back, this isn't really just a vote about zoning, is it? It's not just about one development. It's a fundamental choice about what kind of city Greeley wants to be for years to come. It's a decision between two very different visions for the future.
So that's the choice facing every voter in Greeley. Is this a bold, can't-miss investment in the future, or is it a reckless gamble with the city's finances and public buildings? In the end, it all comes down to the voters to decide.